So welcome along everyone. It's a new update. There's new rules, new restrictions, a lot of confusion going on, some mixed reports. So I'm going to tell you all the news now as I understand it, and obviously the links will be in the description as well. So let's dive right in and give you this update. So I'll start with the latest figures in Tenerife. We have 1,172 cases in total, 242 new cases yesterday, which was Wednesday the 16th of December. So we are seeing a big increase, which is why the government has felt the need to step in, take action and put in the heavier restrictions that we now have in place. I'm going to go through those restrictions now with you. So the Canarian president presented a package of measures last night that will be in force for 14 days from this Saturday. So that will start midnight on the Friday. Residents will be able to access the island as usual, while non-residents must have an accommodation reservation and a negative test result to come to Tenerife. So you can still come here on holiday, but you must have the negative test and you must have a reservation with a reservation number for a registered legal tourist accommodation in Tenerife. So the new measures include a curfew, which is now 10 p.m. instead of 11 p.m. So they've moved that an hour forward, except for it's 12:30 midnight on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So they've extended it a little bit for those two special days. Other than that, 10 p.m. you've got to be off the street and back home. Restriction of meetings, public and private, only to cohabitants. So if you're trying to meet up with friends, family, it's not permitted. You have to be living in the same property. So Tenerife residents will not be able to meet another person in public or private spaces if they are not living together. If they do not live in the same house, they cannot meet up. There's a recommendation not to move between municipals, so you're not really shouldn't be going to different towns and mixing. They're trying to recommend that you stay in the same area if you can, just to try and reduce the spread. Closure of interior bars and restaurants on the inside. So all bars and restaurants must close inside. They can only have outside space now, and the outside space is reduced to 50%. So unfortunately for the bars and restaurants, they're really going to feel that. So they can't have anyone inside. They've got to be outside, and they can only have half the amount of the capacity that they would normally have. So big difference there. I recommend if you are coming, make sure you reserve in advance. Try and do what you can to eat a bit earlier, go out earlier. Still support the bars and restaurants, but do it safely, make your reservations. The performance of activities that encourage not maintaining safety distance and mask wearing, like concerts, karaoke, things like that, that's all closed and unavailable. Restriction of entries and exits to the island by plane and boat for duly justified reasons only, apart from tourists with accommodation reservations who have a negative COVID test. So tourists, you can still come, you just need that test and you just need your accommodation reservation. There was mixed reports last night. I even did a video on it as well, saying that tourists couldn't come, it was closed only for essential entry only. That's not correct. You can still come as long as you have the test and as long as you've got that accommodation reservation. So travellers who want to access the island may do so if they are Canarian residents or tourists with accommodation reservations and a negative test result. So there was a few reports that tourists couldn't come and that your holidays would be cancelled. It's not fully true. Do check with your travel provider because they may cancel it depending on the news, but most are still coming. I've had a couple of reservations cancelled for the cars, but they were for January, so it looks like everything is still on for your Christmas holiday. On the main dates, so Christmas, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, a maximum of 6 cohabitants may be seated at a table. And in the case of 2 cohabiting groups, they may not exceed that amount. So on those special days, you can meet up with another family, only one other family from another household, but it's a maximum of 6 at a table. So they are allowing you to celebrate Christmas in some form of way. And the other main news is anyone at all travelling to the Canary Islands at Christmas, even from mainland Spain, must have that test. So anyone entering will have to have a negative test. So that is the update. There was a lot of mixed reports, but looks like you can still come. Do check with your travel provider, give them a call and check. But the flights are still coming. Everything is still pretty much normal here. I've not had many cancellations for the cars, so we're looking okay. Last night it looked very negative, but at the moment it's okay. Heavier restrictions, of course. Not good news for the bars and restaurants, but you can still support them. You can still go and eat and drink. You're just going to have to do it a different way. And you can still celebrate your Christmas, but they have reduced it because they have to protect. The numbers are going through the roof, so they have to protect it. In the north is a particular problem area. They are doing extra measures in the north. For example, public transport has been reduced to 50%, things like that. So they are trying to tackle it. It's quite high in the north at the moment. So I can see why they've had to do it. It's a shame we couldn't protect these 2 weeks and do it a little bit earlier, in my opinion, but people can still come. So it's much better news than it was last night. I was feeling quite down last night, but not as bad as we first thought. I'll leave the links in the description to these articles that I've just read, so you can read through them yourself. Do check with your travel provider. Do check with your hotel that you're all still ready to go. But at the moment, I think you are. I think you're fine. Just check. But you are still going to be allowed entry. You needed the test anyway, which is no problem. Just make sure you've got an accommodation reservation as well. So if you just turn up and you say you're going to find one, they won't allow that. Don't forget to fill in your Spanish QR code as well before you arrive, 48 hours before. The link for that is in the description as well, so make sure you fill that in before you come. And for now, that is it. I'll do another update next week if we get any more news, but for now, they're the restrictions for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully everyone stays safe and the rates do drop here so we can get back to normal in January. And everyone stay positive. If you've enjoyed the update, hit the subscribe, because I am going to do an update every week. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't, hit the thumbs down. Drop a comment. A lot of you do drop comments with the latest news, which is great because it does change regularly, so do keep an eye on it, because it could change again tomorrow, things like that. So people do drop the comments with up-to-date information, which is good, and just keep an eye on the latest articles. Okay. Stormy clouds, but it will clear up.